Welcome to 93.3 KFM. I welcome you listeners. It's the Friday panel. We discuss major events of the week. And today, Friday, 23rd, we have a panel of Philip Matogo. He's a social political critic and writer. We have Frank Mujimba, who's an analyst and he works in the banking industry. So we hope to have more panelists join in. Your Saturday monitor is already out. You can grab a copy. And the major stories are on the front page is point of order. It's about the expenditure of Parliament. We analyze the regional seating and whether it's worth it. We have the priorities. Are the parliamentarians getting their priorities right? And then we talk about the lives of rangers. Some of them have been killed in the line of duty. And obviously what we're going to discuss, the major event, is what's happening in the FDC party. We have the FDC Katonga, we have the FDC Najana Nkumbi. What's going on? The Saturday paper has a good analysis of the situation. And also the writer Philip Matogo has written about 4 main books that have changed the Uganda literary landscape. So get your paper and get a copy of the Saturday paper and read what we're focusing on. So guys.
Yes, Jimmy. Good evening.
You're welcome to the show, Philip. And
thank you.
Frank.
Thank you, Jimmy.
So the main event, we have a number of events, things to talk about. The main one, I think, is the crisis in the Forum for Democratic Change.
Yeah.
We have there are now 2 factions. We have the Katonga faction and we have the Najana Nkumbi. Yeah. On Monday, they held the Katonga faction held a delegates conference, which is now the Katonga, the Najana Nkumbi people think it wasn't the right thing to do. Some people think there should be reconciliation, but at this stage, I think the Katonga faction is thinking of registering a new party, and they want the old party to be dissolved.
Yes.
Given what is taking place as we go close to 2026, Philip, in your opinion, how should they have handled the situation? Because there have been accusations of some people being moles, and that led to the Alliance for National Transformation. They exited Major General Mugisha Muntu.
Yes.
And then there's been accusation of some dirty money from where it comes from, and that seems to be a very big. Why can't parties handle their differences? Why can't they reconcile? You can agree to disagree, but you can still work together. What's going on?
I think good evening, listeners, and thank you, Jimmy, for letting me start. And I would have preferred my man Frank here to start blazing.
Which is okay.
But since I'm in on the deep end, let me just set the ball in motion. What I would say is that I think the stakes are so high in our politics, in the politics of the so-called politics of the belly, where everything is about, what you consume instead of what you produce in terms of ideas and in terms of, what you can bring to the
political
table.
Parties opposition don't have ideologies, what they focus on? It's more about what to eat, what positions, and instead of focusing on the goal of, coming to power.
Yes, I think it's I would say it's a post-ideological era where people, the president always talk about ideology in the abstract, but in reality, people are in politics for what they can consume, what they can gain, what they can take home. It's almost like a job. It's a careerist path, no longer revolutionary or aspirational in the sense that it's going to change things for the better of the country. So when people disagree, it's like they're dogs disagreeing over a bone. No disrespect. I'm not calling anyone a dog. But it's just an analogy, which, these days people are also touchy. But then what I'm trying to say, when people disagree, they disagree in such a manner that it's so cutthroat and so to the knife that whoever loses that disagreement possibly loses a livelihood, loses a job. So people are holding on to this. The so-called dirty money is just money, because politics is a dirty game. So I think money gets washed from there, in the sense that it's laundered by people, with putting forth false ideas, or ideas which don't exist, in the shape of, FDC, NOOP. Yet everybody's there to try and eat, especially now they've seen the president has shown the way, because it's an imperial presidency. The man looks almost like a god. He's very rich, very powerful, and many people envy him.
Which president?
The only one, Museveni.
Okay.
Yeah.
The president of FDC.
No. You see, everybody, when they look at President Museveni, he lives like a god. Many of us have got that sense of entitlement.
A man who earns about 3.6 million as a president?
Okay, let's say he earns that. Yeah, let's say he earns that. But then he signs checks of 3 trillion, I'm sure. But the point is, he has the power, and he has the power to make people rich or poor. And it's this power which people really want. The ideas of changing the country. I think we're in such a state where there's so much despondency that people don't care about where Uganda goes anymore. They just care about what they can consume. They call it the politics of desperation. Everybody is desperate. So I understand, and I can presume that the FTC, the factionalism there, is not going to go away. It will not go away in any form. Even in NRM, it's there, based on the same reasons.
You've heard the president say that there will be no opposition parties.
Yes.
Do you think his word is being now put in practice? Is he working from behind the scenes to disorganize the Forum for Democratic Change as it is?
Yes, I think the president, his school of thought. I remember when he came in '86, he was an enemy of parties. He always believed that they were sectarian in nature. That was his view. We didn't know how deeply he held this view, but because now we see how deeply he holds it, because he's destroyed parties. Parties no longer exist in anything but name.
He has destroyed what wants to be destroyed.
Frank, I'll ask you this. The Forum for Democratic Change, the Katonga faction went to court, and then they abandoned the court process because the judge, they said, was unfair. But do you think parties should have a legal basis, or it's about what people like? I mean, if the people like the Katonga faction, Dr. Kiza Besigye is very popular. Is it about the traction, or is it about the legal, the legal aspect that, or the Electoral Commission could be used to say that, you're not a legal entity. You don't have the right papers. You're not registered.
Okay. First of all, I'm not a lawyer, and I have not looked into. It's very hard for me to determine about what is legally right or what is legally wrong. But I would like to talk about maybe two things. One is about conflict resolution, and I really would want to, first of all, appreciate President Museveni or even the NRM. When you look at when you look at what has been happening in NRM, you find that, like any other political party, there have been what you would call conflicts. You remember, I think Museveni has conflicted with a number of people, including Mama Mbabazi, including people like General Tinyefuza, including people like the Minister of Security, former Minister of Security, Tumukunde. Yes, you wanted to say something?
So I'll interject. Philip talked about the money. The president can disagree, but he has where to place those cadres. He has the money, so he can easily solve the conflicts. If it's about resources, it's I'll deploy you in my father's house.
So in other words, you're saying that President Museveni solves these conflicts by using money. But
if money is the source of these conflicts, as Philip said, it's about eating.
So my question is, where has General Tinyefuza been deployed since he conflicted with President Museveni? So I really don't think that is the case. Maybe it is because of his legitimacy and the power and control that he has over these people. Probably that cools them down, and they go somewhere and go about their activities. But now coming to FDC, including even NUP or even these other political parties, we've been seeing conflicts erupting in these political parties, and the way they are handled, I think, is quite something that is really alarming. Because you imagine if these people were in government and they had guns, what do you think is causing the problem in Sudan? Why do you think these people, Hamdan Dagalo and the other general, for them, it's like, even if Sudan collapses, they really don't mind. It is, if I'm not in power, then Sudan can collapse. So I think, especially here in Africa, or even the political parties, particularly here in Uganda, we've not learned how to solve these conflicts. Because even if you form another political party, tomorrow, because what buffers have you put in place to make sure that President Museveni, if you're saying that he used money, that he does not penetrate a new political party again to try and confuse them? So the first point was about the way how we handle conflicts. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you've read about an incident where during the NRA war, where one soldier shot another one and killed him. But because, and you imagine, this was a very small group of people, that they had a very small army, to the extent that even losing one person, it was something that was really tragic. So, but the person who killed the other was not. This person was not killed. These people had a goal. They were focused on something. They found a way of resolving this, and they continued moving with their struggle until when they came to the top. So I think we should learn how to handle these conflicts whenever they erupt in these political parties. But secondly, it is about the question of ideology. I'm really wondering, if you're saying that these political parties, the people who belong to these political parties, actually have a direction and they have an ideology they are really following, and they all know it, I don't know how you tell me that somehow President Museveni somehow sneaks money or funds into these political parties. Why aren't they built into this ideology to defend against to try and defend against this money dividing against them? And I'll take you back to the same example. In 1980, I think that's when we had the elections here in Uganda, and after that, President Museveni decided to go to the bush. This man had an ideology. You understand?
Museveni, not President Museveni.
Oh, okay, Museveni then.
Rebel Museveni.
okay, Museveni then. He decided to go to the bush. Are you saying that at the time, Dr. Milton Obote, the late, did not have funds to try and corrupt this man and deter him from the ideology that he had of going to the bush to fight? So
I think corruption has gone to another level now.
Jimmy, I would like to, okay, first of all, ask Frank a question. Okay. The man you're talking about who was killed in the shot, was that Mugabe? Was that Seguya? Was that Magara? Was that Katabara? There's a long list, my brother. And you know very well, when the president lost that election, I don't want to use the word miserably, because that could be charitable. Now, after he lost the election, he went to the bush. That was his, I don't know if that you find that a very good, amenable form of conflict resolution, because he disagreed, then he went and he set off
and he wasn't even close
a civil war, a civil war, where an estimated 500,000 people died in the most horrendous fashion. And he demonized even people from the north. I know, we know. I've just been rereading Pike's book.
You see, my challenge, my issue is not about an ideology being demonic or holy. You understand?
No,
even if it is,
I said demonize. I never.
Even if it is the Nazi ideology, I'm saying stick to your guns, stick to your ideology, whether it is demonic or even holy. But stick to it.
So
don't allow anybody.
I think, Frank, you mean the way they solve whenever there were problems.
Yes. You just stick to your guns and shoot your way to power.
Ways of sorting it. I think even disagreeing, as the FDC people are doing, is not a bad thing. But
how you yes, disagreeing is not a problem. But how you overcome such a conflict, that is the problem. That's what I'm talking about.
So let's go for a break. We'll you will pick up from there when you come from the break. Welcome from the break. This is the Friday panel, KFM Hotseat. We are discussing major events of the week, and the major event was the delegates conference held by the Forum for Democratic Change Katonga faction on Monday. It's what we are dwelling on. So, Frank, you are still making your point, but I'd like to ask now, you know, the Najadan Kumbi faction has Nandala Mafabi, Honorable, who is the Secretary General, but has already declared his intention to run for 2026. And for the Katonga faction, they're still in the process. They had a delegates conference. I think they have not yet announced. What does the road to 2026 look like for the opposition? To begin with, for these factions, for the Katonga, these two factions and the opposition in general. Does it mean that it's going to be very easy for NRM to just sail through, given the crisis, the confusion that seems to be happening now in the opposition, especially the FDC?
So first of all, you said about the money that penetrated this party, and most likely what is in the news is that this money was given to the faction of Najana Nkumbi, right? So then you are saying that Nandala Mafabi is likely to contest against President Museveni, who gave him the money. So
he has declared his intention
that
it might just
going
be
to contest. Okay,
the contest might not be really serious. It might just, you know.
Okay, so
since you are given money, you have to show face.
You have to
accountability.
It's said to. I don't know how true it is.
But then that political party still has a president who is Amuriat. So are you saying Amuriat is going to step aside and leave?
That is what we are asking. It's being reported, especially now in the media.
Okay.
That he's already declared his intention. What does it mean to begin with? In-house in the Najana Nkumbi faction. So if you have Amuriat, who is the president, the current president of that faction, and then you have the Secretary General already declaring ahead that is going to run. Okay,
so I really think that it depends on the talks internally. I really believe that Nandala and Amuriat, I think they will really sit down and agree as to who is supposed to be a flag bearer of that particular faction. I think they will sit and agree on the way forward. But still, like I said, if still they do not have an ideology that they are following, I think, like the way you've been saying, that it is money that separated the previous bigger party. So if these people still are not focused on their goals or on their ideology that they have in that small faction, I think still we shall still have. Yes, it might not be that actually President Museveni or the NRM has again brought in money into the party to try and divide them, but some other things could happen. They could develop conflicts that could come from other directions, and in the end we shall come back to accuse the NRM and President Museveni and even this other faction of Katonga. Still, these are human beings. They are not prone to they are not incorruptible. Maybe they can be corrupted as long as they do not have an ideology and they cannot hold on to their values as a party. Still, these things will come back again. So I think that what needs to be done, first of all, I've heard that the Katonga faction is going to dissolve the other political party. So I don't know if also the Najana Nkumbi faction is also going to get maybe another name or something like that. But I think it would be better. Why kill the other political party? Let it stay. You form, if you think that you have influence and a following, all you need to do is to come and make another political party. These people will always follow you. But this is what I think about political parties in Uganda. As long as we still have what I would call messiahs, these people who think that everything should be literally about them, that you pretend that you have retired from becoming a president of a certain political party, and you still hover around the political party and you want to influence anything and everything that happens in that political party.
You see,
so I think
Frank,
that is...
If President Museveni leaves the chairmanship
Yes.
of NRM, it wouldn't mean that he stops completely, participating and being involved. So I think exiting as president
Yes.
does not stop one from
Yes,
participating and being involved.
But if NRM appoints another chairman, you can just advise, but you don't try to control, to remote control whatever happens in that political party, and you
where does
sideline
that
the
come
other
from,
leaders.
that remote control?
Definitely, that is what has been happening in that party.
I think, Philip, you'll help me here. Some people are naturally, when he speaks, people, attracts.
Yeah.
So you will have to see that maybe the party realize that if we don't work with this person, we leave him out, then we are leaving a big support base.
And that is the problem. You see, you have an organization that you work for, and you have duties that are designated to you. But at one time in that organization, you're going to take leave. You maybe will take leave and go home. That means someone else will step in and carry out your activities. This person will always give you a call to ask you 1 or 2 questions, but not you trying to stand wherever you are, wherever you went for leave, and you start
I don't know who you mean
these
here,
things.
who is controlling what.
You know this person.
So, Philip,
this is the Messiah, the God sent, who has decided.
Yes. How did we come to this? Looking at the formation of Forum for Democratic Change, during that time, how very, very vibrant. It's even said that in some of the elections, the elections were stolen.
Yes.
So how has this come to this situation? Is it Museveni has been working? President Museveni has been working systematically using, he's alleged, he said these parties will be gone. Is he the one? Because what we see in FDC now, in the Forum for Democratic Change, Alliance for, you can see ANT, you may say no, we may have, similar things happening, and that means the opposition parties are almost gone. How did we get to this? And what would be the best way to move forward for them?
I think all these parties is just window dressing. The truth is, this is personal rule. Okay, the president has built the state around himself, and this construct has radiated to all the parties. Now, the parties are a reflection of the image of his rule, in the sense that he has created them. He can even create a party right now. You don't be surprised, because apart from the Najana Nkumbi group, don't be surprised that the other parties, which I will not name, are his. Yes, are all his. It's a very tragic thing, in the sense that after President Museveni has gone, what happens to the country? What happens? Because he has atomized the political field to the extent that there is no party, by the way. The NRM does not exist without Museveni. If the president was to die tomorrow, there will be disintegration, not integration. Yes. Yeah. But the truth is, the president is a frail old man. Yes, he's an old man.
But
and age is,
at his age, he's still handling your problems.
Well, maybe he's I respect him for having his brand of handling our problems, because everybody should be given a chance to put their kind of ideas forward. But the problem I have with him, he has restricted the field to his family. Right now we have the Odrek and his son battling. You know what this is doing? This is creating a pantomime, in my opinion. It's a joke. What they're doing is they're creating a new kind of field of contestation between the family, and then the rest of us are excluded.
In other words, you're saying it's not real.
It's not real. What it is for us to focus on these two people fighting, and then succession becomes about the family,
but honestly,
and not about Ugandans.
I really disagree with you.
Yes,
are you saying
I'm telling you, it's not about you.
Are you saying that in your family you do not have people you disagree with? So why are you saying it is impossible?
No, come on, you guys.
Genuine.
Sorry, I shouldn't use such a slang, but no, my brother Frank, let's be serious on this one. Okay. You cannot say that Odrek is the biggest thief in the country and be serious when you're also so rich. Where does Muhoozi, for his, okay, I've worked with people close to him. I don't want to go into that. But where does he get all his money from? Is he Coca-Cola?
Anyway,
what does he produce?
You're deviating from let's go for a break.
Okay.
Not discuss this, and we'll pick on from after the break.
Okay.
Welcome back from the break. It's the Friday panel, KFM Hotseat, Frank Mujimba and Philip Matogo. We are discussing major events of the week. We are moving on to the Chitezi tragedy, the landfill tragedy. Didn't happen this week, but it's still a big story. Up to about 35 people lost their lives in that tragedy. So it's a very big. But then following following that disaster, there's a big problem of where to dump garbage, and it's likely to cause health crisis because of our garbage management system. It's really, really bad. So, guys, what do you think about that? How should we have gone? How should we go forward from that tragedy? How garbage is managed in the city, and the victims of the disaster? What should government, the people who live around that landfill, what should be done?
Yeah, I think it is also important to mention that I think police is still on groundwork to try and find some of the missing bodies who are believed to, or some missing people who are believed to have died because of what happened. So that process is still going on. But
let me cut you short. What do you think about our rescue in case of disasters, tragedies?
Yes. Okay. First of all, what happened in Chitezi is a tragedy, but I think it's not a catastrophe like people were saying. I think the catastrophe is in how we think as a country or as a government, or even how we plan. I really find it quite disturbing that these things were happening. First of all, I think there are a number of stakeholders. First of all, it is about government, or call it KCCA, that you go. I expected that maybe KCCA went and bought this land in Chitezi, and this land belongs to government. So I'm really finding a tough time to answer how the people encroached on this government land. But also, secondly, the other stakeholder is the local government, the LCs that are managing this area on behalf of government. That you see this happening. I really don't know what these people are doing. Yes, that KCCA is bringing all this garbage from the city, and they are almost creating mountains of garbage, house refuse. They are creating mountains that you can easily see at one day. This is going to cause loss of life, and you do not report this, and you do not sit down to see how you handle this. But also, the other stakeholder is the people, the wananchi, the people that are living in this area. I really don't think that Jimmy, you can live under a cracked construction when you clearly see that anytime this house might collapse. So I don't know how we could fail at all the three stages. That KCCA failed to gazette this piece of land, so that they could not allow anybody to encroach this piece of land. Then also the local government, the LCs of this area, but also the human beings, the people who are living in this area. So I really find a catastrophe in terms of how we think and how we plan as a government. So I think it would be better if government would go and purchase land and make sure that this land is not encroached on by people. But even putting aside this catastrophe that happened, these people are prone to diseases that come from this garbage. So
I think it's not just purchasing land; it's the garbage money, the system, how it's handled. It said that from KCC to KCCA, there was an expert who even took these people to China to show them how modern the modern methods of handling garbage and all. So what is the problem at City Hall? Why people come with very good ideas and they're never implemented? Even this one, the Director of Environment and Public Health, Dr. Daniel Ayenokelo, had written something and said, something is likely to happen, but nobody paid attention.
Yeah, that's why I said the catastrophe is in terms of how we think or even how we implement what we learn from other countries. So I think that gap has been, but you see, as Ugandans, we normally learn when something has happened. Maybe going forward, because I've heard the deputy ED of Kampala saying that I think they are going now to start transforming these waste materials, yes, trying to generate energy out of them. So I think that is what is going to happen going forward.
Philip,
okay.
we do a lot of benchmarking. There's these trips, we are benchmarking from here and there. Even in our neighborhood, in the neighboring countries, maybe Rwanda, maybe Kenya, they're doing, why can't we learn and do things in a better way? What's the problem at KCCA and its garbage management?
I think, first of all, I'll say one thing. I would like to correct my colleague here, Frank. First of all, when even a single Ugandan dies, when it could be avoided,
it is a tragedy.
That's even a catastrophe. When it's avoidable.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Even a single one. It's not about numbers, it's about the fact, respect for life. Yeah. Now, secondly, I would like to say that there's, in this country right now, we benchmark this. We go to Serena, we do these seminars, we have these fancy buzzwords. Nothing ever happens because people do not feel they have a stake in this country. They feel it belongs to somebody else. This is what people say. They call it, this country has owners. I think you've heard that expression, right? This country has owners. It's not for you and us three. We're just here for the ride. That's it. And as long as this, let me call it an ethos or an underlying thinking is prevalent, everything will fail. This is what will collapse us because the superstructure in this country has gone to the pits. It's a mess.
Look at how Kampala is organized.
Are you saying we no longer care? We don't have values. We don't care. We don't have. We are not ethical in our dealings.
Because you see, it's now permeated the whole of society. It started from the top, as our good friend Norbert Mao used to say before he turned yellow. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize. But he used to say that the rot starts from the head.
Yes.
That's what he used to say. And by then he was very clear and honest. And I believe it's clear that everything is radiating from up. And right now we have people on the ground that are like, if the president ain't care, it's like in your home. If your father decides to stop wearing underwears and walks around naked, who are you to say this will be a fashionista? Who are you to be a fashionista? Okay? So at the end of the day, leadership is example. It's not ideology, it's not, leadership is example. If you're doing the wrong things and then you're telling me, please save your money, that's not leadership, that's hypocrisy.
You see, we have the expatriates. The deputy ED is an engineer.
Yes.
David Luimbazi. Yes. So he understands all these things. The director for health is a doctor. Yeah. So we have all these technocrats who are supposed to. Why can't they effect all these good, that knowledge to make things happen?
Yeah, but brilliant people. But when the system is broken, brilliance does not save it. The biggest tragedy we have in this crisis, in this country, is moral. It's not intellectual. Ugandans are intellectual. Right now, I'm sure people can dissect exactly what we're saying and even reduce it to garbage if necessary, right? The people are smart.
Yes.
Yeah, but the point is, do they have the will anymore? Do they have the moral appreciation for what Uganda can be? I doubt it. People don't care anymore. And this has happened because the dispensation we have now is about, people want to march on Parliament for their rights, and then you create a ring around people who are bridging those rights.
Philip,
come on, it's a mess.
How can we
Let's be honest.
How can we redeem the situation? How can we redeem our country and have things, done in a much better way, in a straightforward way than the current system that seems to be completely broken?
I think so, to avoid conflict, because we don't need bloodshed, we don't need war, we don't need anything. This is not 1980. We don't need that kind of chaos. Honestly and humbly, I would pray that the president steps aside. That's my thing. Then we have a fresh, because people, even the symbolism of it all, when people see a fresh face, they're like, maybe there's change. People like,
Frank,
you know.
Is it about the presidency? Is it about
that's my thinking.
What is the president responsible for the brokenness? For everything that is doesn't seem to be working.
I really don't believe that it is about the president stepping down. I believe that all of us in this country, or in whatever you're doing, be it an organization or whatever it is incumbent on you. You should take it up to you as a responsibility to make sure that you do your work. So I think instead of because President Museveni, he appointed an ED who has a deputy. So Kampala City Council has management. It has leaders.
Should they have resigned?
I think so.
Maybe if you talk about that, I think that these people who are given this responsibility, who are earning from government, they should find it right to resign. If they cannot, you look at how Kampala is. I don't know if you.
But Frank, let me ask a question.
We'll discuss more.
Okay,
of this
sorry.
after
Let's go on a break.
Thank you. Welcome back to the last part of this show. I'm Jimmy Odoki, stepping in for Old Man of the Clan, Andrew Mwenda. And the panelists this evening are Frank Mujimba and Philip Matogo. Guys, let's discuss the Democratic National Convention that's been taking place in Chicago. We now know Harris Kamala will be the flag bearer for the Democratic Party. And the running mate is Tim Walz. Previously, we thought it was going to be a walkover for Donald Trump, but it seems a day in politics is very long. After this, it looks like it's going to be a very tight contest between the two.
Yeah.
So, what was your observation of the convention, Democratic National Convention? I mean, it was like celebrity, stars, Oprah Winfrey, all these big people.
Yes.
There was also demonstration around. Some people who don't agree with the process.
Yeah.
Overall, what did you observe?
There are usually like 3 indicators to show at the convention to show how a party is growing: donations, and then of course there's the issue of that's donations, crowd support, and then at the end of the day, voter registration. If you can get the people to register for your party, that's very important. I saw that the Democrats were trying to humanize all their platforms. Kamara brought personal stories. All of them were talking about their parents, their backgrounds, to show the average person. Even Bill Clinton said that if Kamara becomes president, she'll break my record of being the president who has eaten the most McDonald's. And McDonald's is for blue collar, for the average people. So the idea was to show that the Democrats are in tune and in step with the average person. What amused me, and the best speech in my opinion, was Hillary's. But, she was talking about women and rights of minorities. But when she talked about women, it's funny. She talked about her personal story. Her father, Hugh, named her Hillary because he wanted a boy. This is the true story. If you read Carl Bernstein's book, Carl Bernstein was one of the journalists who broke the Watergate saga in the 70s. So the story in the 70s rather. So when I looked at the Democrats, they were trying to create this impression that Trump is the person for the rich. We are the person for everybody. We are the party for everybody. This was a very good, I think it's a very good platform, a good way of approaching America, because politics today is about the high and mighty. I've often heard our NRM people saying might is right. But now these people are trying to reverse the narrative and make it right is right.
Picking on from there, Philip, President Biden said he loves the job. He would have loved to continue, but he loves the country more
Oh,
What does this mean for, when we look back inwardly?
I like that.
You can step aside for the good of your country, even So
it's not a problem.
So who are you telling to step
No,
down?
let's not go.
can our African leaders emulate Biden and say, time is up? I think I better give room for other people.
You see, I think even if Biden had wanted to really proceed, I don't think he could. I don't think he could have the other the vice president carries on. So I don't know. I really watched both conventions, of course not fully, but I watched bits of both conventions, both the RNC and then the DNC. Honestly, it is really hard to determine as to who will take that day on 5th November. It is really hard. It is a tight race, and if you look at the system of how elections are conducted, the other side, it is not about numbers, heads. It is about the electoral colleges. Who takes more electoral colleges? So I don't think that crowds really would determine anything just by looking at numbers. But I don't know if America, the first world or the biggest economy, is about to make history, and maybe we shall have the first female president of the United States of America. I don't know if that will come to light or it will be a bit hard, but I think that this election will largely, yes, there are internal factors, things that are happening within the US, things when you talk about prices of goods, things that are affecting them internally, but I think largely something that will affect this election is their foreign policy, how they are going to handle the foreign policy. At the moment, there are two wars that are going on, and America has a hand in both wars. When you look at what is happening in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, and then when you go to the Middle East and see what is happening between Gaza and Israel. So, because like you mentioned that even during the conversions, I think for this particular conversion, people were outside protesting in Chicago, but even when Netanyahu was addressing Congress, I think in July, still people were outside the Congress protesting. So I think how either Kamala Harris or Trump are going to handle the foreign policy, who will handle it better, I think this will, because it is known that in the United States, the states for the Democrats are known. Then also the states for the Republicans are known. But there are those that are called swing states. But now you also talk about the states that have a larger number of black people. This is Kamala Harris. She's an Indian, but she's also Caribbean, and she had not. It's not something that she used to carry. She used to carry the the other face of being an Indian or something. She had not thought about black people. So, but you see, this is going to play out now.
Okay, but could I say something about not about her being Indian, but then the point one I have noticed also. American foreign policy will not change. It's all about American hegemony. Okay. The emphasis on what on which war to handle, which people to destroy, which country to bring together will change. Just be a change in emphasis. But the principal idea is American hegemony. Don't be confused that Americans are all loving the imperialists. This is a fact, and we shouldn't get away from that fact. So. Sorry, Jimmy?
The kinds of their running mates also show what this man is. Tim Walz has been in China. He has a very strong connection. He taught there, and the other one is young because they're saying Trump is old, so he's trying to bring appeal to the a younger segment. So what do you think when we look at the organization? When we look at how the conventions were done, what can we emulate? What can the party see? I mean, it's very advanced, but there are things you can, like the policies, what they talk about, and what just to sum it up.
Okay, I think the one thing we can emulate is what Clinton said today. We don't have to call each other names. Let's try and come together. This unity is key. Whether you're FTC, NRM, whoever you are, Uganda should be one. And
Yeah.
whoever's a stumbling block in that direction should be removed, so to say.
Just a minute. When you look at the way the politics in the US are handled, you feel it is really politics of ideas, and something in Uganda is something else.
Ideologies.
It is something else.
On that note, thank you very much, Frank and Philip Matogo. You've been a very good panel. We wish our listeners a good evening. And next is the news. Thank you.